What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. I'm actually going to be doing something really different today, so I'm going to jump down to the table so we can dive right into that. All right, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a look at budget knives. More specifically, I wanted to look at budget steels because it drives me crazy when we always talk about what a steel can do, what its potential is, and how it can potentially perform. So hopefully that's making sense. I did pick out just a couple of very common steels that you do see at or below that $50 price point. I know that there's going to be exceptions to this, so just kind of bear with me here. Again, we're mostly looking at the steels, not the knives. So what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be taking a look at 9cr18mov. The other synonymous with the 9cr, we're going to take a look at D2 steel. And then a little bit of a throw in here, because I didn't really know where to place it, if I'm honest with you, is going to be RPM9. This is going to be a proprietary steel from CJRB. So here's kind of what I'm thinking we'll do. And I'll cover this. I already did these, full disclosure. I've already got the cuts in, obviously, because we're getting ready to go down to the garage to do them. So I know the results. I know where everything kind of lands. But what we're going to do when we head down there, we're going to do some cuts through denim, a little bit on some zip ties, like a very small sample size on some zip ties, and then primarily cardboard. I think cardboard is synonymous with these types of tests, but I don't know that they're the end all be all. So let's go ahead down to the garage. We'll run them through really quick, and then when we're done, we'll come back up here and we will talk a little bit about these results. Okay, we're in the garage. We got our RPM9. We got our D2 sample. We got our 9cr, and these are the three most popular budget steels out there in my opinion. So I wanted to go ahead and run these all through the test just to kind of see how they compare. 9cr and D2 are on a lot of budget steels. RPM9 again being a proprietary steel. Actually, I'm going to do all that up at the table. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with the 9cr, and then we'll do the D2 second, and then we'll do the RPM9 last. I am throwing a caveat. If the RPM9 does well down here, I forgot to mention that, it will move up to the next test, which will have Nitro V, it'll have VG10, 14C28N, and 154CM as all part of that test. All right, so this isn't going to be too different from what I normally do down here. We're going to just start it out and check the factory edge on all these. FYI, I have used these at the very least in the cut test for their video and or other cutting. So I did go ahead and strop all of these to where I felt like they felt very good. And they, for the most part, are moving through the catalog paper fairly well. Go ahead and do all of them at the same time so you can see. So that D2 feels good. The 9cr feels good. Let's check the RPM9. I'm pretty sure I stropped this up last night. So that one is hanging up just a touch. Yeah, just a touch there. Let me strop that up a little bit more. I'm not quite sure if I finished dropping this one or not. All right, I did a light touch up on that one just to see if I could get rid of whatever is getting hung up. I feel like it's okay. The paper is rolling slightly on me, and I think that's what's throwing me off a little bit. But I'm satisfied with that. I think we're in a good starting place for all of these. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way. We'll get a fresh sheet here to just see how the edge held up at the end. All right, I'm not going to go through these until they're toasted, okay? I'm just going to do a set amount of cutting. I was going to do zip ties, but I'm not quite sure that I'm going to do a bunch of those. I think what I'll do is kind of use like a want to cut it loose zip tie example, so I'll just take them and wrap them around the edge and cut through them. I'll probably just do 3 on each. I'm not really sure where I came up with the numbers either. They're just kind of random. So I'm going to start with the tabletop cutting. I just want to cut through a little bit of denim with all of these. I'm going to try my best to use the flat part here that's going to go through the cardboard. So we'll do the denim. I'll do what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll call it 8. I think I have enough to get through 8 on each of the slices of denim that I have on the side. 3 zip ties each, and then we'll go through like 20 and see where we're at on the cardboard. So let's go ahead and get it started. And I'm not worried about making it all the way through. I just want to try to fatigue the edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm not worried about making it through. I just want to get through 8 of those. We'll grab 3 zip ties. And we're going to just do right along the edge here. Let me see. I might need a bigger piece. Actually, I think I can just use, yeah, I can probably just do it here. Okay, that's cool. So we got 1. Probably can reuse some of these, right? 2. Wow, that was really sharp, guys. I hardly ever use these little ones, which is why they got volunteered for the test. 3. I don't know if that does anything. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I really don't have a rhyme or reason as to why I went this route. So this has got a bunch of tape on it, but we're going to use it anyway. It is single ply Amazon cardboard, and we're going to go through 20 slices. All right, that was exactly 20, guys. I am going to have to move some of this out of the way as we go. There is tape on here, so I am going to grab some goof off. I'll try to make sure I stop. Like if I'm going through editing and trying to speed it up for some of the parts of the cutting, I'll make sure and do a good job to slow down here and show like what I'm doing so that you guys can see everything on camera and try to be as transparent as possible. So this is just getting the goof off. That's going through 20 pieces of cardboard, 8 on the denim, and just 3 little zip ties, just random zip ties. I do need a new sheet of paper. Let's see if this can even, should be fine because it's just the tip that I used to slice that out of there. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what the edge is like. So not nearly as slicey as when it started out. It is definitely in need of a strop, guys. 100%. Is it cutting? Yes. Is it slicey? No. I don't think anyone's surprised by that at all. So I'm trying to give it as many opportunities as I can here to slice. And it's not really wanting to do that. Yeah. All right. So I would probably say that is what I expected from the 9cr18mov. I would say let's go to RPM9 next, because this is the biggest unknown to me, and I think D2 is probably going to perform well in this test, I think. So again, that factory edge feels good. I'm not quite sure why it's dragging out there on the end. Because I did strop it up just before starting this. Not quite sure what's going on. I don't know if it's because I'm using catalog paper versus paper. So let me get a fresh sheet and we'll try that out. I have a feeling I'm going to need the goof off again. Oh, I was cutting too deep into the catalog paper. All right. I don't know if that's because I was trying to cut with the 9CR No, it's still skipping. Hold on. Apparently, I did not do a very good stropping this out. All right, let's see. Hopefully, I did a better job there. Okay, that feels good. I'm not quite. I wonder if it's just because, is it because I'm at the tip? Yeah, I think it's because I'm going around the belly there, and I'm thinking that the steel is catching on that. So we'll go ahead and get started. I think I'll probably need 2 pieces to get through the 8 this time, just because these are a little bit shorter, but we will do 8, and I am going to do them right on the meat of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll share this one with another one later. 7, 8. So we'll save the rest of that for the D2 here in a minute. So not bad. I'm just going to set it to the side, try to keep everything on screen for everybody. I wonder if I can just use one piece to try to get through my zip tie, my 3 little zip ties. I want to try to hit on that, see if I can fatigue the edge any. So 1, 2, 3. I guess I'll save that for the other one, just to be consistent, right? I don't want to do more on this that I did on the 9cr, right? All right, so we have another piece here. I don't know if these are the exact same length, but we're going to go for the same 20 passes, and we're going to go straight through the tape. And I'll cut this out. I don't want to cheat. That's a double ply piece, so we're just going to cut that out. "24, 25. We'll save that in case that happens again. So we did 25, but it was because that piece was shorter. I think I still have enough goof off on here to get the adhesive off of here. Yeah, I think that should be good. All right. Let's see, after that same cut test that we did on the 9cr, how the RPM9 performed. Okay, so not as many blemishes as the 9cr. There does seem to be one spot that is getting hung up. So right about there, we're getting hung up on something. And I think I can actually see some paper built up right there. So it is not as severely impacted as the 9cr. I would definitely give this a pass. This would be, I think, a very easy strop up to fix whatever is going on with this one. So this has less overall impact, I would say, and I would say the areas that are impacted are substantially more impacted than what was going on with that 9cr. Let me clean this up off the table here. Make room for the D2. And I did try my best to pick 3 different brands just to have some variety, but I just wanted to see how they would perform against one another. And then I am very curious to see what the results will look like versus the 154CM 14C28N and Nitro V. That's what I'm very curious to see, if we'll see a difference. I mean, I feel like the 9cr passed. And then I guess what I'll also do at the end of this is strop them up. See how easy they come back to form. Like if they're really easy to strop, I think that would be useful information. All right, we got some straps here. All right, so we'll put that over there. And on to the D2. I guess I need a fresh sheet of paper, huh? The D2 is Best Tech Man, made by Best Tech. The 9cr, obviously, Cut, and RPM9 is a proprietary steel by CJRB. So let's just, yep. So I don't really feel like I need to do a bunch there. That feels really nice. All right, so we're going to do the same 8, 3, and 20. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just gonna call that 8. Let's grab, I don't know what I did with that other zip tie. I think I threw it away by accident. All right, so 1, 2, 3. So you got your 3 pieces there. All right, and let's get some cardboard. Whoa, that went flying. And same 20 cuts. All right, 25. We got plenty of tape on here, so let me grab some goof off. I think I still have enough on here to use this. I'm not really sure which side it's on though. Make sure that's not on the edge. It came right off. That goof off makes really light work of any adhesive that might be on here. All right, that's 25. Let's see what she looks like. So I would say, I want to say the RPM9 had the least impact. Let's bring all the contenders back out here. Let's just try. Okay, that one went all the way through. Had some blemishes, right? I think we got a good section of catalog paper here. So I feel like the D2 held up the best out of those two. Let's try that again. Yeah, I would say if I, right here on the table, had to pick, it's definitely going to be D2, then RPM9, and then 9cr. So what I'm going to do now, just using this strop, and I'll skip this so that you guys don't have to wait for all of this. We're going to strop each one and test them on the paper at the end of the stropping. We'll do a clean sheet here. I'm almost done. This catalog paper is almost done anyway. So just quick demonstration of the 9cr being stropped up. There you go. Back to form, guys. Woo! What a pain. Let's do the AR RPM9 next. And there you go. A little bit of stropping and honing on all of these so far. They have just a little tiny blemish. So 2 honing strops. We got 1 piece left. Let's just one more time check to see. Yeah, that one definitely needs a strop. Very interesting, guys. All 3 of them needed a hone and a strop. So as far as how the edges came out and everything like that, let's just, I got a mess down here. Let's go ahead and take it back up to the desk and we'll kind of talk about my experience with all 3 of these budget steels. Okay, so keeping in mind that we are only talking about the steel's performance and its ability to be maintained after, you know, what I would constitute a fair workload. You know, I wouldn't call it heavy. I wouldn't call it light. I would say like a normal workload, what you may see between stroppings potentially. And some of you may even say that that would probably be more heavy, that you might not even be doing that much cutting. We are focusing just on the steels. So I just want to throw a couple of things out there. First and foremost, we have 3 different manufacturers. Obviously, CJRB being their proprietary steel with the RPM9, they're the only maker that has that steel. So The reason I did throw that in here, though, is because this is at typically a $50 price point, which is where you normally see D2 and 9CR from your bigger brands. You know, it could be slightly below 50. And in this case, I think when it first dropped with the D2 and the button lock, it was just slightly over 50. So I tried to do my best to keep them in their perspective price points by doing this. Yes, I know that you can get, again, 14C on some knives that are under 50. There is also 2 flat ground and 1 hollow ground blade. I didn't really care about the blade stock thickness because we're not looking at how does it feel going through the material. We're just looking at what can we throw at it and what did it look like when we got to the very, very end. We're going to go ahead in order of my experience, and this is my opinion, my experience, my test. You know, I know that there's a lot of variance. There's what the cardboard was put together with, you know, how it was glued together, you know, the paper that I'm using to test before and after. There's just a myriad of factors that I understand that could affect the results at the end. But again, this is just me trying to throw a little bit of pen to paper to have an answer for myself, right? And I'm sharing that result with you in hopes that maybe it helps. I know that this is not the best way to go about testing it. You know, there's different companies, there's different heat treats, there's all sorts of factors, right? There could be different edge angles. I get all that. Again, this is just how did the edge hold up? That's all I'm curious about. How did the edge hold up, and what did it take to kind of strop it back? And I know that those factors have influence over that. I do understand that. So first and foremost, we're going to start with the 9cr18mov. You know, this performed at about what I expected for the level of steel that you're getting here. I would not call this an entry-level steel. I think, you know, 7 and 8CR are going to be kind of like your very, very, and may even go lower. I think I've seen 5 before. But whatever it is that's below 9CR, I understand that there are things below that, but I think 9CR gets you really close to the performance of D2 and throwing in the ability to be corrosive resistant. It performed fine. You know, it did not hold up the best of all 3 that are on the table. And truth be told, I was surprised that it didn't come back to form with just a strop. I did have to strop and hone, and I think that has more to do with the hollow grind on this one than it does with the steel itself. So it is a belt satin finish. That does play a little bit of a factor for me as far as the fact that it didn't strop back on its own. It needed a little bit of honing. After the strop, what I was finding is it did have some small imperfections that were not in the immediate edge, but it was kind of more getting hung up on the sides there. And I think that has to do more with the hollow grind, because hollow grinds, while they are thin and slicey, they do create a sense of tearing when they go through the paper as opposed to being slicey on a factory edge. The other thing that I want to mention here is all 3 of these had their factory edges on them. This one had not been stropped. This one had not been stropped, and this one had been stropped in the usage that I've had them. And that's just because I've been carrying and using the Pareto more because I was trying to get a really good handle on the crossbar lock and RPM9 combination. I've had the Bestech Mannon Good Boy before. I was more interested in, is the lock still a concern? And this is a brand new knife, so I'm spending some time with it so I can get that review done and get the review out before I get this video out. Because I'd like to have that review done before I get into this one. That way, when I get to the review, I can talk a little bit about its performance. But this one was the one that needed the most attention, and it surprised me how much effort I needed to put into getting that back to being slicey, but I was able to get it back there with a little bit of patience and taking my time and making sure I did a little bit of honing with it to make sure that it was, you know, because the edge kept feeling good when I stropped it, but it kept getting hung up and snagging. So you may not see that in the edits because I'm going to try to clean up the edit as much as I can. What really surprised me here was RPM9. RPM9 performed very well, guys. It went through everything very well, and the edge felt still very strong. And I can see why they use this instead of D2, because depending on where you land, you may say that the D2 held up a little bit better, or you may say the RPM9 held up a little better. What I will say is that the D2, with the same amount of performance that you saw with 9cr, its edge was better at the end, and it only needed a little bit of stropping. And I did find that there was one spot around here that I don't know what I hit, but I had to strop it a little bit more, and then I did just give it a little honing just to make sure, because it felt like it was doing more tearing than it was sawing. You do like a toothy edge on D2. I don't like it to be super slicey. I like it to feel like it's kind of slicey but tearing, like you feel like just a little bit of catch, like it's almost going to stop going through the paper but not quite. I have found like it just does better with a toothier edge and holds that a whole lot longer than it does if you try to get like a hair popping razor's edge. But I would honestly throw these down as a tie between RPM9 and D2. I felt like they both were at about the same place coming in at the end of the results, but I feel like both held up a good amount better than the 9cr. Now, RPM9 gives you that corrosive resistance that 9cr gets, but I feel like the RPM9 did outperform by a good margin 9cr. So I would say I'd rather have the RPM9 because it gives you the corrosion resistance that 9cr does while giving you similar levels of performance as D2. And I was really taken aback. I expected, truth be told, I thought D2 was going to walk all over both of these steels with that test. It was not a heavy test, and I probably could have kept going cutting cardboard for hours, because these are going to be able to have that working edge. It's just how slicey was it after that small sample size, right? I wanted to see how slicey was it and how much effort did it take to get it back. So I had to take my time a little bit with this. Again, the X factor with the 9cr is this was a hollow grind. It wasn't a flat grind. I probably, in hindsight, should have grabbed one that was a flat grind, but I really wanted to check out the Arc Blast. So this one here is coming in cheaper than the other two. This is a $47 knife. This is normally just over 50 bucks. I think it's like 50 and some change, and then 50 and some change. But I kind of get why. Like for me, I'm equating it now to the performance aspect. Yes, you can get a sin cut with D2 for 46. So maybe that's not really the best way to look at it. But I would say, if you're looking at it as you need that corrosion resistance, you don't want it to get any rust, you live in an area where that is a concern, you're going to want to go with 9cr or RPM9. I would lean towards RPM9 if you can find a CJRB that you like. There's a lot out there that I like, but that doesn't mean that you like them or will like them. That's just me. CJRB is linked down below. Those links help the channel, guys, and watching deep into the video helps the channel as well. And if you enjoyed it, leave that like for me. I really appreciate it. I do put a lot of effort into videos, especially ones like these, because it's a lot of editing on the back end. Again, not worried about ergos, anything like that. I just know, as far as how the edges held up, I would rank last place the 9cr. It performed as expected though, right? There was no surprises there. It stropped up and honed up. I didn't have to take it to a sharpener. I was able to get it back, stropping and honing it, and getting it to be just as slicey, if not more slicey than it was when it came from factory. I had to do something very similar but at a lighter level for RPM9 and D2. The D2 had one blemish that was a little bit more major than the RPM9. The RPM9 had a couple of little spots on it that came out with stropping, and then honing them kept them super slicey going through the paper. The RPM9, I think, though, would be able to take a very fine edge. You wouldn't need it to be as toothy as you would want on the D2. So my winner in this one is truthfully going to be RPM9. I think it gives you the best of both worlds. It's going to give you really impressive edge retention for the money while being corrosive resistant and having ease of maintenance. If you take your time and you just spend a little bit of time with it, or just strop it after you use it on something heavy, like if you break down a box, go ahead and strop it then, and it's going to prevent you from getting to that point where you have to worry about honing it, stropping it, trying to figure out where that balance is to get it back popping, or if you need to sharpen it. I will also say CJRB has been doing a really good job with their factory edges. I don't know what angle they're throwing them in at, but it had really good bite. D2, I have found, even if you don't do a really good job with the D2, meaning putting an edge on it, long as you make it toothy, it always has really good bite. The 9cr started to feel slick at a certain point where I couldn't quite get it to bite into the cardboard, but the RPM9 felt like the D2 did, and the fact that it wanted to bite into the cardboard to keep going. So that's my feedback on it. Again, this is just a random sampling of some random knife manufacturer's steel, but I wanted to look at 9cr versus D2 versus RPM9. I liked RPM9, so for me, I'm proclaiming that to be my winner. I think what it offers and how it performed is very balanced. I like it a lot. I'm so glad CJRB pushed to have that proprietary steel, and I get why they go back to it, because I think it does really awesome for the money, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. I hope this video helps some of you out there. I know we look at steels and we talk about steels, and I know there's people that know a lot more about steels that are probably going to be more informed to tell you a lot more about them. This is just a real world exercise that I wanted to run through and share with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to everyone out there for liking, using the links, commenting, being subscribed. A special thank you to my channel members, guys. I love you. I appreciate all that extra support, and I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.